Here we go. Hello and welcome to episode 287 of the Chills of Will podcast. Pleasure today to talk to two-time guest Jordan Harper. A little bit about him. He is the Edgar Award winning author of The Last King of California, Everybody Knows, She Rides Shotgun, and Love and Other Wounds. Born and educated in Missouri, he now lives in Los Angeles where he works as a writer and producer for television. And definitely the focus of today is She Rides Shotgun, which we're talking on July 25th, and it comes out on August 1st when this episode goes live. Good morning, and how are you today?
Good morning to you. It's good to be back, and I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. That's a pretty sweet mustache,
Thank you, thank you.
right?
I made a conscious decision to change my look a couple months ago. As this sounds like I'm being funny, and especially since I realize I'm wearing a trans rights shirt right now.
Huh.
But I really kind of came up with the concept that I am currently transitioning, not gender, and I'm not trying to make fun of
Sure,
I'm
sure,
not equating
sure.
myself to trans people at all, but I made a conscious decision to stop identifying as a TV writer
Ah,
and start identifying as a novelist who sometimes works in TV
okay.
or film. And part of that was I thought, you know what, let's change the look up. So
Yeah.
hair out,
Yeah.
mustache out, novelist Jordan,
Right. Right. Sun's out, guns out, Shoot.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, I've also late in life tattoo person, and this I got this yesterday, which is why I have my sleeve rolled. I'm
Yesterday.
not, yeah,
Okay.
I'm not just rolling it up to show
Sure.
the sweet guns.
With 10 being the highest pain threshold or the highest pain, what's a tattoo?
Well, that it varies a
It
lot
does.
depending
Okay.
what part of the body. I have one that is very dark, a lot of black ink that is right across the front of my shin where the bone
Mm.
is, and that's by far the most painful one. It was also the one that bled the most.
Okay.
I don't have any on my trunk or neck. I think those are supposed to be
Ah,
really painful. Anything that gets close to a joint tends to
makes
be very
sense.
painful. Any place that nerves are kind of gathering tends to be really
Yeah.
painful. And then anything where bone is close to the surface is painful. Whereas kind of the meat of your bicep is the least painful, or the
Ah,
back of your shin isn't too bad. But the closer you get to the branching nerves, I like people. I've never had a back piece or something, but I
right, right,
have
right,
to
right.
think that hurts real
Oof.
bad.
You said the shin. I thought if it was the thigh, I thought maybe trying to be like Nate.
Mm.
Nate had that wound there, right?
Oh, right, exactly.
The
No,
turned
I
turn colors.
I mean, I think, I mean, not to jump into the book from that angle, but one thing I wanted to do with She Rides Shotgun as my first novel and kind of stating my claim is I wanted the bullet wound to feel very real when Nate
Mm,
gets shot, that I didn't want it to just be oh, he got shot in the leg, so we never have to mention this again.
right.
And so that's why not only is there a long sequence of treating the wound and not yanking the bullet out, because again,
Yeah.
that's something they always do in movies, and in real life they very rarely do,
Yeah.
because why?
Uh-huh.
It's it's done. It's
Uh-huh.
stopped.
Right.
um and so it's best to disinfect and just let the body grow around it, unless it's
Mm.
close to an organ where if it shifts it could really
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
something. Um Going in and yanking it out is just going to tear more flesh.
Right.
So
Right.
leave it be.
This story may be apocryphal, but I'd read once that like old school Sicilians, like mafia, mafia, like back in Sicily, they'd wait till like their enemy like committed a mortal sin, like cheated on the wife or something horrible, and then they'd kill him,
Hmm.
like to send.
Oh, so they would go to hell.
Yeah, almost like, oh my God, like yeah, wow, like
Like
that's
you got to
just
catch them between the sin and the
yes,
confessional.
yes. It's
Oh,
just like wow.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's a story. You could write
Right?
that. That's
That's a
a
story. I could, yeah. When you talked about the bullet going in, I think about like I think a lot of like the idea of like putting something on the bullet that will like infect from inside.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Ugh.
I
Ah, man.
mean, that is the other thing. Like once you kind of have a bullet that's inside you that is not near an organ or anything, that the danger isn't from the bullet, because the
Hmm.
bullet cauterizes itself while it's being
Okay.
fired, but it's about the clothing that comes in inside
Yeah, I
you
thought that was
with
so
it.
interesting. That's from the book. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the it's, yeah, it carries the world into you. And
Uh-huh.
that's the dangerous part is like literally the thing that's against your skin right now is the deadly part at that point.
Like little fabric, little
Yeah.
threads.
Little
Wow.
threads, whatever it is,
Yeah.
like that's what's going
Yeah.
to carry the germs in, not the
Yeah.
bullet itself.
We'll kind of maybe start in the middle a little bit then. Just like I'm so interested in sorry to keep going back to this Sicilian thing, but like, Mario Puzo when he wrote The Godfather, everyone's like, you must have talked to mafia people, you must have been in the mafia. He's like, nah, research. How did you how did you like your research on so I mean, I don't know if you could give us a little summary of the book, but She Rides Shotgun, I mean a lot with like the maybe white power is not the right, but like the prison gangs, right? And Aryan Steel is the big gang and all that. But I mean, so much incredible research. And again, this is a 2017 book. We talked about Everybody Knows, which was 2023,
Yeah.
right? Which I mean, just amazing about all the and with Epstein and all kinds of stuff that have happened since. You look so prescient and
Mhm.
like just the knowledge you have. But I guess just a long way of getting at like what kind of research. I mean, there's a lot about like the prison dynamics and the different races and all of that.
Yeah, I will say, and again, I know that since this is my second time on the podcast, this first part I might have told the first time, and I've
Hmm.
also just told a lot, so I'll do it quickly. Is that,
Yeah.
I grew up in the Ozarks and in my hometown, which was like the big city of the Ozarks.
Mm.
When I was growing up, the Hammerskin Nation was their national headquarters was in my hometown. My older brother ran a punk club and had interactions with them that winded
Uh-huh.
up getting violent, and they ended up hurting him. He's fine, but like.
Uh,
So I've been aware of like Nazi skinheads for a very long time, and I have considered them villains for a very long time, which is correct.
Correct.
And even
Objectively
if you can
speaking.
see the patheticness of some of it, which I absolutely can,
Uh-huh.
um, I've still always been both repelled by them but fascinated, which is like an
Mm.
ambivalent relationship, and
Mm.
I kind of not so much in my life now, but particularly in my 20s and 30s, really like just became obsessed with crime and not the crime of serial killers necessarily, but the
Mm.
the crime, professional criminals, gangsters,
Right.
organizations of crime, cultures of crime. I'm fascinated with, and so I really, the thing about all of my books is I rarely do pointed research.
Mm.
Instead, I write books about the things that I'm fascinated with. So, like when I was in this era of my life, I was like searching down. This is a great tip for anybody who wants to write about organized crime in America.
Hmm.
Do searches for federal RICO indictments.
Okay.
And that's all public knowledge when somebody, when they charge RICO is when you charge a whole organization with
Right.
crimes, every member of the organization. And so what a RICO indictment has to do is spell out what makes this an organization.
Uh-huh.
So they will list like what the rules of the organization are, what their symbols are, what
Mm.
the names of the members are. And so you can get a very real sense of how these things are organized. Now, obviously, these are prosecutorial documents, so they are
Sure.
slanted towards
Legalese.
legalese, but also they're slanted from the government's point of view, which,
Okay.
in my point of view, tend to attribute more hierarchy and motive to organizations that actually
Mm.
exist in real life. And in real
Uh-huh.
life, most gang members don't walk around going, I'm a level 3 shot caller.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're a
yeah.
bunch of people.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a group, and sometimes they have cultural identifiers. And I think that's important to keep in mind. I think maybe She Rides Shotgun overdoes the amount of organization and like the sort of Roman mafia style hierarchy that
Okay.
exists in these groups. Um, but in a fun way that I think is fun to read about.
Sure.
So I just like I would literally just and I still have them around somewhere, like print out,
Uh-huh.
you know, um, like indictments and read them for fun before I was writing anything, which is why
Uh-huh.
if you read Love and Other Wounds, my short story collection, you can kind of see Aryan Steel as a thing that starts in my Ozark stories, and
Uh-huh.
then there's a story in Texas where they're like running the prison yard, and then when I moved out here, and my fiction got way more focused on California, I just
Uh-huh.
kind of ported them, and it's
Right.
realistic because the Aryan Brotherhood is actually mostly focused
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
here in California.
Yeah.
So again, like I'm going long here on this, but this is again like a thing that fascinates me is I just made this stuff up. I did a lot of research and then I created my own,
Huh.
the lightning bolt tattoos when you kill somebody is something I just came up with on my own. It's not based on any fact. And I pulled from a lot of stuff, but I also just if you realism for me
Mm,
is a tool, not a goal. You
mm,
use realism because we're not reporters, we're not journalists, we're novelists. Your goal is to create a convincing world and then push into that world. And this is kind of drawn from like Chuck Palahniuk's talking about
mm.
minimalism,
Okay.
where he would always say like when you start a story, do something on the body, like center the bodily sensations of the character because that is a way to draw people in. You do something about the body and you talk about bodily sensation because that will ground you in the story. In the same
Mm,
way, if you can ground your story with enough things that feel real or are real in a way that is interesting and evocative, then you have license to make up things after that because you have created this shell of realism.
mm,
And I believe that I'm part of like a pulp tradition. I call what I
mm.
do art pulp,
Hmm.
and that is a loud version of reality,
Right, 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 right.
and so I exaggerate, I make things bigger than they are, I make things more violent, but I do you center that in a grounded reality that
Hmm.
can make the exceptional bits shine more, if that makes sense.
Sure, sure. Wow. Taking notes here. That is a very interesting way to look at it. The realism as a say it again as a tool, not
Tool,
like
not a goal. Tool,
right,
not a goal.
right.
Your job is not to accurately portray the world in exact minute detail.
Uh-huh.
Your job is to create a dream for your reader, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. And so the real elements lend verisimilitude in a way that locks people in. And then then you can kind of establish the rules of your world and then go.
Uh-huh.
So, you know. Slab Town at the end of She Rides Shotgun is a pretty wild development. Like when you really look at it, it is pretty heightened. The idea that
Mm.
there is like this camp of meth labs out in the desert protected by
Right?
a rotten sheriff. But if you ground the story in these rules in this world, by the time you get to Slab Town, you hopefully you buy it because you have been
Yeah.
put into this world and you've understood again like the things that make it feel real and gritty.
Mm.
And like for me, like that's why I say, yeah, thanks for letting me just riff here.
Yeah.
I don't do action, I do violence.
Mm.
I action to me, even though I do pulp, I like the pulp that is grounded in the body. I think that a six shooter is more dramatic than a machine gun, and a lead pipe is more dramatic than a six shooter.
Uh-huh.
Because the closer you can get to the body and the more you can make every gunshot
Uh,
matter,
uh-huh.
the more you are going to like really get inside a reader. That's my belief.
Okay, that really crystallizes things that I was kind of thinking, but wasn't able to put a name to. Like when you're talking about like the injuries and like the bullet, it's just even the movies or books that like show the results of so for on the spectrum like a cartoon or something like that, right? Like, oh, he gets his head blown off and he's back in the next scene, like that's
Yeah.
ridiculous, right? But even in the movies it's just like, really, he's still going, like,
Yes.
you know like even I mean a great movie, a great action, action scenes, it's like he's still going. And that's really interesting. Instead of like an indiscriminate 45 bullets, you're like, I'm going to focus on the one or the one
Well,
blow from the lead pipe, right?
right. And this was, again, not to diss somebody else's creative work, but I'm going to diss somebody else's creative work. And this is something like a lot of other people love. I am, for the most part, unmoved by John Wick movies.
I knew you were going there. I think I say either the Matrix. Well, I think you're going Keanu. Is it
Yeah, I
Keanu
mean,
or is it John Wick? It's the movie, isn't
it's
it?
John Wick. I
Okay.
love I love Keanu Reeves. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
he does what he does very well.
Yeah.
Um, like I think he is great, but it is the ziplessness of the
Uh-huh.
violence. It is the
Uh-huh.
fact that he kills 300 people
Right?
and I feel nothing. And again, like I can be impressed with the balletics. I will say also I love John Woo.
Uh-huh.
And he does something similar, but he has squibs. I also just think it's
Uh-huh.
more artful
Uh-huh.
um, than what those guys on the John Wick movies do. And I also just find the mythology of that world just like doesn't interest me at all, at all. But like but I am not moved by it. I
Hmm.
thought the first one had things that were great, and the thing that is great about it is that it's about the death of a dog.
Ah.
That is real. I mean, I lost my dog this year. It will fuck you up.
Mm,
And
mm,
I love that part of it. But again, I watching somebody kill 100 people will not move me as much as like something that
hmm.
is about killing one guy.
Yes. Yes. The when you talking about like pulp and action and violence. I had a writer friend. I'm not going to say it as correctly as she did or as well as she did, but just the idea that like noir and horror, like those are the best. That's some of the best writing these days because it's more real than what the other stuff. Again, I'm not saying it so artfully. What are your thoughts on that? This idea that, noir. Real quick aside, the Southwest Review, right, had that noir issue
Hmm.
that you were featured. I don't know. I mean, do they do that every year? Is that
That's a great question. I don't know. Bill
yeah,
Boyle invited me to do that. Bill's
yeah,
a great writer,
huh,
and is deeply involved with the Southwest Review. And so I am now a subscriber, but I wasn't before they
right?
invited me. So I don't know if it's annual or not. If it
Yeah.
is, I wasn't asked to do it again this year, but like that's okay. They don't have to ask me. Um, first of all, like I won't even get into like noir is such an overdetermined term that has so
Uh-huh.
many different definitions. But
Okay.
I will say that I agree with your friend in general. I have a very strong sense that most mainstream art today
Hmm.
is failing completely to capture the world that we live in.
Mm,
I feel like you watch movies and TV and it doesn't feel like what it's like to live in the world. And I think again, not to wade into this awful argument about literary versus whatever, but like I'm sure somebody out there is writing literary fiction that is capturing something
hmm.
about the world. But to me, if you're writing about America today and you're not writing about violence,
Mm,
you're not being honest
hmm.
about the world that we live in today. My new novel is going to come out in April of next year, and its title is A Violent Masterpiece. And partially, and I happen to have it right here because I love it. I had the initial idea for the title because I was at BoucherCon at the where they have like the used books that are like cool used books,
Right, right, right.
and I bought this edition of
Oh,
Dashiell Hammett's Red Harvest, and it's backwards on my screen. I don't know if it's frontwards in yours.
I can see it frontwards, yeah.
Okay, and so it says Dashiell Hammett's Violent Masterpiece, Red Harvest. I just love this
Mhm.
cover so much. And I was standing there and I was like, I wish I could put Violent Masterpiece on the cover of my book. And then I
Uh,
thought, well, I can. I just named the book a Violent Masterpiece. Um,
Literally just putting in front of it changes it.
yeah, well, no, I'm just saying it doesn't matter that it's not the phrase is copywritten. I'm just saying
Ah,
I just wish somebody would call my book a Violent Masterpiece the
I
way this
see.
calls this book a Violent
Oh,
Masterpiece.
is that like a review? Like a blurb?
Well, it's not even no, it's not. It's just the cover. It's
Okay,
just
okay, okay,
but
okay,
the
okay.
name of the book is just Red
I
Harvest.
see, I see, I see.
They just chose to like kind of make the ad a cover.
Mm.
And I just really liked that it said Violet Masterpiece. And I was like, that's a great phrase. And so I made it the title. But then when I was writing the book, I have a scene where a man who teaches cops how to kill people
Hmm.
is giving a lecture to a bunch of sheriffs. And he's doing kind of a speech about America. And God, I took a lap around the room, not literally, when I
Mm.
thought of this, but I have him say, the geniuses of America are the geniuses of death. Like we invented the revolver, we invented the machine gun, we invented the nuclear bomb.
Mm.
That America is a violent masterpiece. Um,
Ooh.
and so I earned the title, and I was like, I'm very happy with it because I also fully believe that noir and horror and things of that ilk are trying to portray a world that people can see but aren't wanting to look at.
Mm. Mm.
And there's a big belief amongst the people who are controlling the media now, by which I just mean tech companies,
Uh-huh.
and the people who run them, uh, that people don't want that people want sunshine and happiness, and they don't want darkness. And I fully don't believe that. I know that there is a market out there for people who are trying to handle what's happening in the world, and you're not going to get that through escapism. Escapism has its place. I watch fluffy bullshit sometimes too, or fluffy great stuff. I don't mean to be dismissive about it, but I think if you want to do what art is supposed to do in its fullness, right now it needs to probably be horror or noir. I think that's correct, largely.
Well, I mean, how do you watch what's going on in Gaza now
Exactly.
and just how do you even get on with your day?
Well, that is one of the questions that we have to wrestle with is like, the horror and also the paralysis and the feeling that there's literally nothing to do. I give money to these like GoFundMe's that people put up for
Mm-hmm.
Palestinians. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying this in a way like I still give the money, but I just like it's just doing anything.
I know. I know.
Like, can all the money in the world buy anything in Gaza now? Like,
Hmm.
what are we doing? And it's so awful, and we have so lost control of our government. And by we, I just mean people.
Right.
Like,
Right.
because again, if you look at what you poll America, they don't want this. Nobody wants to be paying for
Right.
this.
Right.
But it's happening. And so again, like, yeah, this is very much like why when I said I've kind of moved away from like skinheads and
Mm,
little gang stuff is because I think like I've kind of shifted my lenses zoom backwards, sort of in the way Elroy's did,
mm,
between white jazz and American tabloid, and it's like, well, let's look at the real criminals. Like, let's look at the
right.
real violence. Like
Right.
this stuff. And again, I love this stuff. I will write about it again. Um, but like skinheads and stuff, like that's like a little side thing that is like
Yeah.
the story being told in miniature,
Hmm.
because we have Nazi skinheads in the White House right now.
Yes.
Like Stephen
Yes.
Miller
Yes.
is like, a dime store Heydrich,
Ooh.
who is
Right.
like,
Right.
and he's there. Like this is real, and it's not. There's no way to exaggerate what is happening at this
No.
point.
No. I think maybe Trump is amoral and Stephen Miller is definitely immoral, demonic. You know,
Yes,
I
I
don't,
agree with that. That
you know.
Trump is primarily like just a walking id,
Yes.
just a
Yes.
mouth with feet. You
Yes.
know.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. August 1st, the movie comes out. Hope people are listening at August 1st and beyond. Tickets are alive, right? I mean, this is pretty awesome. What's it like to see? I know you've been to a couple of the screenings and I'm sure obviously you saw it like in miniature, but to see it on the big screen, what that's been like, what's that been like?
Well, I mean, it's interesting in that, like, I the first time I saw it was just like on my TV. They like sent me a link, and I
Okay,
watched it on my TV, and I was overwhelmed, and it's very
sure.
surreal in any way. But I really didn't feel it all. I'm so glad it's going into theaters. Like, I think that matters so
Yes.
much. And like, um, I had a very different reaction to it. First of all, like Nick Rowland does a fantastic job directing, and in
All right.
particular, there is a gas station robbery, um, followed by a car chase that's just spectacular on the big screen.
Mm,
But it's very hard to describe what it feels like. I was just reading a book by, I don't know how to say her last name, but Jill Cement or
okay.
Cement,
Okay.
wrote a book called Consent that is not about this at all, but she
Mm,
talks about having one of her books adapted, and it's a very weird experience. She's talked about the movie is different than her book. And then somebody says a line of dialogue that is taken like verbatim from the book. And she said it was like seeing my eyes in somebody else's face.
mm.
And I was like, oh, yes, that's like, thank you for finding, like, I don't know. There aren't a lot of people who can share this experience with me because that's how surreal it is. It is
Yeah.
to experience a feeling of unreality of like we were saying off camera, I started taking notes or writing this book in 2013,
Mm,
and now it's 2025, and Polly is running through the desert with the bear in her hand, and
right.
it is wild. And I mean, you asked me at one point to summarize the novel, and now we're so deep in, I don't know if it's
It's all
too
good. No,
late,
please, please.
but it's the story of a girl named Polly who, when you meet her, her hair hangs over her face, and she has a bear that is more alive than a normal teddy bear, but still not really alive. It's just she has imbued it with a life
Mm,
because of how locked in she is and how hard it is for her to deal with other people. But from the very beginning, she still has gunfighter eyes.
mm,
Um, and she is abducted by her father, who she has not seen in years because he's been in jail. And she's not sure if he got sprung or if he broke out. And he abducts her, and what she learns pretty early on, so not really spoilers, that her mother
mm.
has been murdered, her stepfather's been murdered, and there's a green light on her head and on her father's head, all based on something he did in prison. And now this guy who's like a low-level criminal, a stick-up artist, um, has to try to do what he can to become a father to this girl he's abandoned and
Mm.
keep her literally alive
Hmm.
because Aryan Steel is coming for them all. And they turn it around and they go to war, and this little girl becomes a warrior. And it's about, in a lot of ways, anxiety and what you do with like this fierceness inside yourself when it just gets pointed in.
Mm.
And it's also about like the idea that there actually is such a thing as liberatory violence
Mm.
when you are the oppressed one, that it actually learning to fight and fighting back
Mm.
is liberatory. And
Mm.
she experiences that over the course of the book. My other like real pocket description, if you're not sold yet, is it's a paper moon with a body count, is my cute
Hmm.
way of saying it, you know. And it's it's weird because I've now I've just finished my fourth novel, and I'm moving on to the fifth. I'm taking notes on the fifth.
Mm.
So She Writes Shotgun has been in the rearview mirror for a long time, but it's really great to go
Right.
back to it and kind of see that it's still alive because books don't die.
Yes. Heck yeah. You talk about her being oppressed. By whom is she oppressed? Is it the general society? Is it her
I
family
mean,
situation?
it's about her life, and in this version she is like swallowed all this anger that she has
Hmm.
at the world and at her father,
Hmm.
and literally these people who've killed her parents, like that is like, and made her go on the run. Like that is a
Hmm.
very literal, like oppression feels like a subjective thing or like a
Hmm.
an amorphous thing, but this is a very real, like she is
Yes.
hiding out in motel rooms. She has lost her family. She is a refugee in a lot of ways.
Right.
But she was already like that because she has the same kind of violence inside her that her father has. But she has not just suppressed it, but driven it inwards. And that's why she has this feeling of like that she's not in control, is because her inner life is totally unmoored when you meet
Hmm.
her. She
Hmm.
compares herself to the planet of Venus,
Right.
which is calm looking on the outside, but inside it's just literally acid winds blowing.
Hmm.
And what I try to get to in the book is that by the appropriate letting out of rage, by the appropriate targeting of anger and violence,
Hmm.
she actually finds herself. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we don't want that to be true, particularly for little girls.
Hmm.
I think people wouldn't feel so strangely about it if he was like a teenage boy learning to fight,
Right.
learning to stand up for himself. But she's a girl, and again, I do believe that there is, much like when my brother was running that skinhead club and
Hmm.
we would keep the Nazis out. I
Well,
remember.
he wasn't running the skinhead club. He
No, I'm sorry.
was.
Did I just say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, what's happening was he was running a punk rock club and the
Right.
Nazis were trying to
Right. Right.
basically
Right.
get in.
Right.
The reason I said that is because if you let Nazis into your club, it becomes a Nazi club.
Uh-huh.
Like that's what happens. And
Uh-huh.
so if you run a punk rock club, you can't let the Nazis in. So I remember having a conversation with like some 15-year-old Nazi in
Mm.
Springfield when I was also 15 or 16 or
Yeah.
whatever. And him being like, "You're like the one who's oppressing me because like, or you're
Uh,
discriminating against me."
oh wow.
And you have to explain, like, I can't remember what philosopher said it, that um, intolerance to intolerance is not intolerance.
Hey.
You know what I mean? That like,
He quoted that?
no, I'm quoting that.
Yeah,
That's the
thank you.
truth. No,
Thank you.
that's the truth, is like
Sure.
that refusing to let in a Nazi is not discrimination because he's a
Yeah.
bigot.
Yes, yes, yes,
You
yes.
have to, the only way for people to have freedom is to discriminate against bigots. It is
Huh.
to, like, that's why anybody goes, well, you got to let the Nazis run their ads and papers because that's free
Mm.
speech. I'm like, well, then
Mm.
I'm not
Mm.
interested in that definition of free
Yeah.
speech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That, like, that you have to oppress oppression for people to be free.
Mm.
And that means you have to fight fascists. You have to fight Nazis. Like they don't get to have their opinions because they get to because we're not winning. But it's okay to say, no, you're not allowed to have Nazi marches on the
Uh-huh.
square. Like that's my belief. I used to be very libertarian. I used to be
Uh-huh.
very, very like pro free speech for anybody. And now I'm like, no,
Right.
fuck that.
Right, 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 right,
No, fuck off.
right.
Don't be a Nazi. You want free
Right.
speech? Don't be a Nazi. And I
Enough
have
of
no,
this,
and
enough of the both sidesisms, right?
exactly, exactly. And people are, well, they'll try to oppress your speech. It's like, yeah, they will.
Hmm.
They will. So why should I let them
Yeah,
do
yeah.
do their speech? Anyway, anyway, So I see a time left minute 40. Are
Yeah,
we
good time to we can pause and sign on to the same link.
okay?
Yeah,
Okay, I
sorry,
just
I don't
wanted
know
to.
if the first time we talked, I might have been before. I'm on the 40-minute limit now, so
I
cool.
understand.
Yeah, yeah.
All
We
right.
will.